The movie begins with the Coastal Guard getting concerned about a boat that's been moving for hours. When they investigate, they find no people but discover an envelope. Suddenly, a tremor hits and the boat turns, causing a tunnel to break and water to leak, creating problems. Government officials notice but can't figure out what's happening. They suspect a volcano eruption but aren't sure. Precautionary measures are taken and the coast and tunnel are evacuated. However, civilians don't take it seriously, filming and treating it as a joke. Another researcher suggests it might be a nuclear submarine or a water eruption. They see smoke from the sea but aren't worried as it's not poisonous. Someone suggests it could be a monster, but they dismiss it. Later, they spot a huge monster tail, making them realize the situation's seriousness. They call in a biologist to identify the creature. Meanwhile, the creature destroys boats on the shore. A low-ranking officer notices the creature can crawl on land. Despite warnings, some specialists don't take it seriously. The Prime Minister tries to reassure the public but learns creatures are causing disaster in Tokyo. Furious, he calls an emergency meeting. People in the city flee from Godzilla, which is causing destruction. In the meeting, they discuss exterminating Godzilla before it destroys the city, but first, they must evacuate to save innocent lives. The police are working hard to evacuate people from the area and residents are panicking and fleeing. Godzilla is smashing large buildings like toys. They decide to seek help from the self-defense force and request assistance from the US government, but plan to exhaust their own resources first. It's the first time since World War II that they'll use weapons in Tokyo, but they have no other choice. A military meeting is held, but they're unsure what they're up against, so they focus on being fully prepared. They opt to use army helicopters to attack Godzilla with fire, selecting well-trained officers for the task. However, when they approach, Godzilla lies still, catching them off guard when it suddenly stands and roars. Despite the discrepancy from their expectations, they remain ready to act. The Prime Minister orders them to refrain from firing to avoid civilian casualties. As Godzilla moves forward, crushing everything in its path, they realize they can't engage it with civilians present. Eventually, Godzilla disappears into the water without a trace. Yaguchi and officials survey the destruction and plan to rebuild. Yaguchi prepares to fight Godzilla if it returns, assembling a team and gathering information. Homie suggests Godzilla may be gathering nuclear fusion to sustain itself, but her insight is initially dismissed until it's realized that Godzilla targets areas with nuclear potential. As they delve deeper, they're startled to find that Godzilla is consuming massive amounts of energy. Yaguchi shares this with officials, unsure about the radioactive theory, but taking precautions nonetheless. Press conferences are held to urge evacuation from such areas. Meanwhile, Yaguchi meets with Japanese-American Keiko Patterson, who offers to help locate Goraki in exchange for information about Godzilla. She reveals that the creature's name is Godzilla, providing valuable insights. Goraki, a professor exiled from Japan, works for the American Department of Energy and owned the boat seen earlier. He escapes after the incident. Yaguchi fulfills his promise to Keiko, who shares Goraki's files. They discover Goraki is studying nuclear waste in the Pacific Ocean, indicating Godzilla's ability to survive on energy. Goraki moves to Tokyo for its fusion energy, causing destruction. Specialists suggest freezing Godzilla with a blood coagulant, which could immobilize but not kill it. Yaguchi, deeply engrossed in his work, is interrupted with news of Godzilla reappearing in Sagami Bay. The government orders immediate evacuation of Kamakura. People flee in terror as Godzilla approaches. During a meeting, they observe Godzilla on monitors, realizing it's larger than before, anticipating a tough battle ahead. To overcome Godzilla, they enlist the help of the self-defense force, who are already engaged with the creature. Plans are coordinated with High Command to strike Godzilla, targeting its face and legs to avoid releasing energy. Despite bombardment with fire and missiles, Godzilla remains unscathed, leading them to suspect his body is like iron. They persist, attacking with tankers, which proves effective. However, Godzilla retaliates, destroying buildings and tankers, heading towards non-evacuated districts. The Prime Minister orders the mission halted to prioritize lives, though some object. They realize Godzilla is unbeatable and seek US assistance. Meanwhile, legal advisors persuade the Prime Minister to prioritize his safety, leading to evacuation orders. Yaguchi is caught in traffic, witnessing Godzilla's enormity. American aircraft arrive, bombarding Godzilla, injuring it, but its glowing body hints at impending danger. Godzilla breathes fire, devastating the city further as the aircraft continue their assault. Godzilla unleashes a beam from its mouth, destroying airplanes and burning the Prime Minister's plans. Kyoko, in a car, realizes Godzilla's immense power, as even buildings crumble upon contact with its beam. Godzilla moves forward, resembling a ruler of the world, leaving Japan in misery. The Prime Minister and his allies are missing, adding to the chaos. The next morning, Yaguchi, enraged by the destruction, resolves to seek revenge. Godzilla rests, regaining energy while a new Prime Minister takes office. Yaguchi gathers his team, urging them to work with determination and honor their loved ones' memories. Kyoko arranges a meeting with the Prime Minister, offering international aid, but Japan declines, preferring self-reliance. However, they accept American scientists' help to study Godzilla. A drone sent to observe Godzilla fails due to its radioactive aura. Humans retrieve Godzilla's DNA, discovering shocking news: Godzilla can reproduce by emitting fluid. Upon learning that Godzilla can reproduce, Americans and other nations grow concerned about potential threats to their own territories. Kyoko informs Yaguchi about other countries offering help due to worries about safety. U.S. officials suggest using nuclear weapons in the city and offer to rebuild once Godzilla is eradicated. The Prime Minister, unable to refute Japan's status as a threat, is briefed by his secretary, along with Yaguchi, to avoid nuclear escalation. Yaguchi decides to focus on freezing Godzilla using coagulant and gathers resources for the plan. Other countries grant Japan 2 weeks to evacuate before considering nuclear action. Civilians are transported to safety via planes and boats. Meanwhile, an intelligence officer meets Maki, who sacrificed his wife for research. They exchange documents for their country's benefit, but the officer suspects Maki knows more than he's revealed. Yaguchi worries when they can't access Maki's data, concluding their plan may fail. They discover a molecular graph suggesting Godzilla's cells can adapt, potentially thwarting their efforts. They realize freezing Godzilla to death is their best option. The Prime Minister grants permission, not wanting to resort to nuclear weapons. The Defense Force is ready to sacrifice for their country. Yaguchi ensures the coagulant arrives on time. On the decisive day, they prepare to confront Godzilla. Yaguchi motivates them with inspiring speeches, and they brace for the dangerous task. 2 bullet trains collide with Godzilla's feet as part of the plan. Despite Godzilla's resistance, they succeed in depleting its radioactive energy. They topple buildings around Godzilla and inject coagulant into its mouth and body, freezing it like a statue. Victory is theirs, and the Prime Minister seeks to revoke the nuclear order. People rejoice as they can return home, and Godzilla perishes due to lack of energy. Thus, the movie concludes. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to check out our other recaps popping up on your screen right now and subscribe.